In these final lessons, we're going to talk about long-term financial planning and what your future looks like. This first lesson, we'll talk about retirement planning. So by the end of this lesson, you should understand some of the most common retirement plans, also known as pension systems. You'll be aware of the pros and cons of each of these systems, and you'll realize the importance of developing your own individual retirement plan. Take a look at grandparents. They're some of the happiest people in the world, and that's for two reasons mainly. Well, they've got grandkids and most of them are retired. They're not working. What a great life. We would like you to get to that life. And your main retirement goal then is simply, well, to retire. We want to get you there. We want to get you to a point where you can retire without working and enjoy the final years of your life. Way too many people have to work until they die because they don't plan. So, how are we going to get you there? Teach you to save money, teach you how to invest the money, and teach you how to manage it once it's invested. Okay, so let's look at some common pension systems or retirement systems available to you. And these are things to consider when you are choosing a career and even a major in college. Social Security is the federally funded pension plan. It's been around since the Great Depression, the 1930s, and Social Security is where you pay in money to that system and you take money out when you reach the age of 62 or 67. Those numbers could change, okay, but that's how that works. All right. Public employee pensions are for people like teachers, law enforcement officers, firefighters, and other government workers for county governments and state governments. These are often CalPERS. This is California Public Employee Retirement System. Teachers have one called CalSTRS, State Teachers Retirement System. So these are common pensions where people pay in and they take money out after you retire. All right. Private sector pensions are for people that work for large corporations or small private businesses, and these are often run by that company where both employer and employee put in, but the company runs it. It's not run by a government agency like these other three. All right. And of course, you can have an individually funded retirement plan where you put money aside on your own and you manage it or have a financial advisor manage it for you. Okay, so two of the main differences here you want to understand is some of these plans are called a defined benefit plan. That means where the benefit, in other words, the payout is strictly defined, it's fixed, and that is one type of plan. The other one is a defined contribution plan where you put in money, it defines how much money goes in, and you don't know exactly how much money you're going to get out. It depends on how well it does. So both plans have these things in common. The employee puts money in before taxes in almost every case, and the employer also puts money in. Sometimes the employer puts in a similar amount. Sometimes they match what you put in. Sometimes they pay more than what the employee puts in. That'd be a good thing. So both employee and employer are putting into these two plans. All right. With a defined benefit plan, as we said, you get a fixed monthly check. Usually it's for as long as you live. It's based on a formula that usually involves your age when you retired and the number of years you worked for that organization. So this is a good plan. It tells you exactly how much you're going to get, regardless of how much you put in or how well the investments did when managed by the government agency. Now the defined contribution plan is a little bit different. Okay, you get a fixed monthly check and it still has a formula, but it depends on how much money went in and it depends on the investments and how well the investments did. So if these don't do well, you may not get as much. These defined benefit plans are much more preferable, and they are actually getting a lot of scrutiny right now because it's hard to guarantee money if the investments aren't doing well. Okay, but that's what people have been promised. So defined benefit has a subtle but profound difference compared to defined contribution plans. Defined benefit plans are more common in the public sector, as we said, for cops and firefighters and teachers and government employees. And in the private sector, you're more likely to see defined contribution plans. Okay, but keep in mind those differences. If you've got a defined payout that's guaranteed, then that is very good. However, we want to be careful because it's not always clear that you can count on those things. Social Security, you've heard a lot of talk probably about this. Will it be there when you retire? Well, some people say no, certainly not if you're under 40. If you ask the Social Security agency itself, they say yes, it will be around when you retire. But if you read closely, their own words here say it's going to be depleted by 2041. Well, if you're a class of 2015 in high school, you're only going to be 44 at that time. That's a long way from retirement. So you may question Social Security. There's a lot of debate about that, but a lot of people think it won't be there very long. What about public pensions like STRS and PERS and these other agencies? Well, There's been some cities that have gone bankrupt, not San Jose, but there's been a lot of controversy in San Jose and San Diego. There have been some cities like Vallejo and Stockton that have gone bankrupt and can't pay their debts. Outside California, Detroit has gone bankrupt. So a lot of people are thinking this is a crisis of big proportions. And there's been a lot written about California's fiscal crisis. Looks like it's getting a little bit better, but it's all over the nation. There's a lot of states that are in trouble with their pensions because they don't have enough money to pay out to people what they've been promised and what they're counting on. If you talk to a union of service employees, they will tell you that people aren't getting that much money. It's not as rich as people thought. In fact, a lot of people with these retirement plans are living in poverty, they claim. So there's a big debate about it. No one knows for sure what the future holds, but certainly there are many questions about whether these public pensions are going to be there long term and how reliable they are. What about private companies? Well, they manage money. They're not a government agency, right? They must be solid. Take a look at this. In the last 10, 12 years, look at how many different companies have had their pension plans fail and get turned over to the government. What that means is people are only going to get pennies on the dollar. If you worked for United before 2005, you were counting on an average of $60,000, okay, per year to fund your retirement. Well, that went under. It fizzled. It got turned over to the government. They only got pennies on the dollar for this. Okay, a couple other airways companies in here. Okay, Pan American's quite a while ago, but TWA quite a while ago. U.S. Airways not that long ago. Big companies, Bethlehem Steel, National Steel, another steel company here. There's also been scandals like Enron way back in 2000, before your time probably, but their pension plans failed. So you can't always count on something, but people still talk about it like it is guaranteed. It's supposed to be guaranteed, but there aren't very many guarantees in life. So best plan, take care of it yourself. I love this quote here. It talks about how your financial independence and your lifestyle and your security can only be guaranteed by yourself. So we need a plan, okay? But most people don't plan. They've given up on saving for retirement. Only 1/3 have $1,000, according to this Yahoo Finance study. Another study shows almost 54% of private sector workers have no retirement plan. That's scary. All right, so you've got to make a plan here. How are you going to do it? You got to ask yourself three main questions. Number one, how long do you think you're going to live? And how much money, how much is your money going to grow if you invest it, like we've been coaching you to do? Finally, how much money are you going to need when you get to retirement age? The answer to these questions is very simple. You don't know. However, you can estimate. Okay, so just because you don't know what the future holds is no reason not to plan. You've got to plan. Having a plan that isn't exactly correct or will change with time is better than having no plan at all. And too many people are having exactly that, no plan. Some of these questions we do know. How long are you going to live? Well, life expectancy is 75 years about now, so you expect to live to be about 80 because life expectancies are getting better. Maybe it's longer. How much will your money grow when you invest it? People used to think 10 to 12%. Some still do. Most the consensus right now is about 8% growth if you invested heavily in stocks at a young age and manage it as you go. How much money will you need at retirement? The common wisdom says about 75% of your final salary per month. That's your last salary when you retire. It's a little bit less than that because hopefully you'll spend less. Your house is paid off, hopefully, and you'll be paying fewer taxes as well. So hopefully 75% of your final salary will get you through. If you don't have regular payments through a pension plan, we hope you've got a lump sum. That means a big pile of cash or savings or investments, some sort of assets that is equal to about 8 times your final salary. So once again, no plan is perfectly correct. No one has a crystal ball, but would you rather err on the side of having more than enough money or not enough? It's an easy question. So let's talk about how to do that. You can't reach your goals if you don't know what they are. So let's do some math here. Your average salary, as we said, with a current college graduate right out of college is about 44 grand per year. Suppose you get 2.5% raises every year. I did the math here for you, and that means you'd be making about 120 grand by the time you're 65. That's good. Sounds like a lot. But remember, prices have gone up too. So this is just keeping pace with inflation. Hopefully you get more than 2.5% per year. Maybe you're a good worker and you work to earn more money, you can save more money. So 8 times that number is 960,000, or real close to $1 million. That's an easy number to remember. You're going to need about $1 million by the time you're 65 to retire comfortably. Now, if those pension plans come through, great. This would be extra. Okay. But I wouldn't count on those pension plans just to be safe. I would plan on trying to get to $1 million by the time you retire comfortably. Okay. Here's how you do it. Here's what your life basically looks like. On the y-axis, you've got your wealth. Hopefully it increases with time. Here's your age. So as we go from left to right, you're getting older. As you're getting out of college and you're single, hopefully you start saving at an early age, as we've said. Even if you have a family, you start spending a lot more money because kids are expensive, families are expensive, houses are expensive, but they're a good investment in many cases. Okay. So hopefully your income is rising, your saving is rising, you're accumulating wealth as you go up this curve, all or straight line. As you get to 60 years age or retirement age, you stop working. You don't need to make money. Hopefully you're living off your investments and you start spending your money down, and you hope that your money outlasts you. Because if your money runs out before you do, you're going to be out of luck. You're going to have to lean on somebody else. You're going to have to find some way to pay. Maybe you're living off the government, but that's a tough road to hoe. You want to make sure you have enough money to get you through the end of your life. And these are the sweet retirement years we talked about with your grandparents there at the beginning. All right, so that's what your life looks like. Accumulation and then spending. So how you manage this part really will determine how well you can live in your retirement years. Let's not forget the value of starting early. If you take a look at this, this is just $5,000 invested each year. That's less than what we said in that previous example, right? We said 500 a month, which is 6,000 a year. So this is less than that. This graph says we're going to do it for 10 years, and they're assuming a slightly higher annual return, but that's, some people think that's reasonable. You're only going to do it for 10 years, and then you stop. It says no additional contributions. So you just invest 5,000 for 10 years, and then you stop. So if you started at 25 to 35 and just stopped, we don't recommend that. But what if you did? What if you just saved it early as opposed to late? Look at the graph. If you started at 55, it has no time to grow. Even at 45, it doesn't grow very much. The red and the yellow don't even get to 200 grand, less than a fourth of what you need, or less than a fifth of what you need, actually. Notice the gap between red and yellow and blue. It gets bigger as you go up. Between blue and green, it's huge. Okay, so if you can start saving early and just let that money grow over time without putting in any extra money, you'll get to almost $800,000 just with these contributions the first 10 years of your working career. Of course, we hope you put in more, and of course, this will get way over 800 grand. You'll get way over $1 million. But this is saying if you just save it early, as opposed to starting late, it's going to be much, much more beneficial for you. Keep in mind the steepest part of the curve here, you can't get that steep growth unless you start early. You can't start at 55 and catch up to this top of this green curve. It doesn't work that way. You could invest aggressively, but there's risks to that. You could end up with nothing. You could save more money later, and that'll help you catch up a little bit. But really, the time value of money is huge. You've got to start saving early, even if you stopped and let it ride. Most people won't, and so most people will keep contributing, hopefully 5,000 a year, but that's huge. Let's look at some real numbers of this, right? We know the data here. You start at 25, 35, 45. Okay, person A put in the same dollar amount, right? 5,000 for 10 years, that's 50 grand total. They just put it in early in their career. That's harder because you don't make as much money, but they'll have 423,000 more than person B by the time they're 65. They'll have $618,000 more than person C, who didn't start till they were 45. That's a lot of money. That's over half the money you need for retirement right there, just by starting early as opposed to later. So you've got to understand that. Okay. So in summary, understand what pensions are available depending on your career path, but you may not want to count on it 100%. All right. There's no guarantees. Have a backup plan. Okay. And also start saving and investing early if you want to get to retirement.